Just a quick one before we dive in. I've just opened up 2 brand new ways to work with me. If you're an established beauty professional who's ready to increase your revenue, either in your clinic or by moving into the online mentoring and educational space, you can join me for a 2-month container where we build and validate your first online offer or your next big move. Or if you're ready to go all in, there is a 7-month private mentorship where we build, launch and scale your new revenue stream together. If you're not sure which one's right for you, I'm offering a handful of free business clarity calls, quick and powerful to map out your fastest path and to see which container fits best. Just DM me the word revenue on Instagram or check the link in the show notes and email me. Let's get into the episode.
Welcome to the Beauty Build podcast with me, Zara King. As a coach for beauty pros, it is my mission to help you earn more, work less, and create an unstoppable mindset. This is the show where we explore all of that. So whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting your beauty business, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and join us on the journey. And for more, get yourself inside my private community, The Beauty Build on Facebook.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode. I'm really excited for you to listen into this one today. I was joined by the gorgeous Becci from Blossom Academy and she is so incredible. I can't believe that the woman is only 27 years old. She is fantastic. She's done so much in the last 10 years of her career in the beauty industry and setting up her academy, working with Lucy Pastorelli as an educator for her as well, and just her energy and her vibe and everything that she discussed with me today about things like how to work smarter, how to create a passive income for yourself, how to fulfill the life of, wanting to strive for freedom and flexibility and all the rest of it was just so inspiring. And she's out there helping so many beauty pros, so many people get trained in nails and helping them as well with the business side as well, which is just my favourite thing. So I'm so glad that I got the chance to have a chat with her. I hope you absolutely love this episode. If you do, take a screenshot and tag us both in your stories and enjoy. So Becci, could you share with us who you are and where you're from and just how you got into this gorgeous industry?
Yeah, so I'm Becci. I own Blossom Academy. I am from a little town called Shrewsbury, which is in Shropshire. Not many people have heard of it. But I've been in the beauty industry for 10 years now. So I started off, as a lot of people do, I just thought, do you know what? I'm just going to learn how to do my own, save myself some money each month. And I never had the intention of it actually turning into a career. But here we are, nearly 10 years later. I think I just realised how much I actually enjoyed doing it and working for myself and having that freedom and flexibility. So yeah, it's just been a wild journey, but I'm so grateful for it.
Wow.
And then during lockdown, I trained to be an educator. So that's been 3 years now. And I finally feel like I found what I was destined to do. And it's just the most rewarding thing to be able to give people that opportunity of working for themselves and, doing what they love. So yeah, it's all worked out well in the end.
Amazing. So what did you do before you got into nails and beauty?
So originally I wanted to be a fashion buyer. So I did fashion at uni. Yeah, really random now because I haven't really used it. But when I did that degree, I kind of found my love for marketing. So I worked in marketing jobs and then I did a lot of freelance marketing alongside the nails. And I've only been sort of full time doing the nails and educating for like a year, 2 years. So I've always kind of done the both alongside, but it's obviously bode really well because having a beauty business and being able to market it was really important.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you have worked alongside this up until recently?
Yeah. So I've only been all in Blossom Academy for, about a year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So was it another employed job or were you self-employed before?
I was freelance, so I was kind of juggling the two. And at one point it was crazy because I was doing courses, nail clients and marketing clients. Yeah. So I had my head in 3 different places at all times and it was a lot. So now being able to just fully focus on the academy is just amazing.
Yeah. Now I think about it, I realise you said freelance.
I
can't get my head around it. I'm like, I love getting to know you. And I'm like, tell me more. So, okay, cool. So freelance marketing, that's fantastic. I think that's great. Honestly, because in this industry, people are seriously struggling with their marketing, aren't they? So can I just digress for a minute? And can you tell me if, when you're helping clients with Blossom Academy, plug the business here. Do you help everybody a little bit with their marketing too? I assume.
I always try and give my help. Like when we're doing the modules, there's like a business module, a pricing module. I will talk to the students about kind of like getting set up, and I try and create a lot of content on my socials that, help them with that as well, because it is something that obviously I do have, expertise in. I want to be able to help people. So yeah, giving people ideas and just sort of, little hints and tips of like optimizing your profile and these little things that they can just add in, it just makes such a difference. So I try to where I can.
Do you think that because you know how to market a business, you were able to go into the academy and market that and be successful without worrying about it?
Yeah, I definitely had confidence that I could sell a product, but I think the most important thing for me was actually building that audience before I even had that. So I spent a lot of time, putting time into content and speaking without earning anything from that, if that makes sense. So I was marketing for a long time before I actually made any money from it. And that really helped me in the long run because, of course, I then had an audience and I had a platform. But it's taken a long, long time. So when my students say to me like, oh, I've posted, a set of my nails, but I've got no bookings. I'm like, you have to keep on posting. Like, isn't it something like people have to see it 7 or 8 times to take action? Something like that. I think it's probably even more now. But it's so true. Like you have to keep on speaking when it feels like no one is listening, and you never know who is watching, do you? And eventually over time with that consistency, it does happen, but it definitely doesn't happen overnight.
No, it certainly doesn't. And I love that you just said that. You have to just keep going with no one watching. And that's it. You have to think about the fact that what would you be doing, if you were where you wanted to be? And, why should people be sort of like cheering you on along the way? I know it sounds harsh, but actually it's kind of, they'll cheer you when they realize you're at the top. And that's what happens. They see you at the top and they think, wow, she's great. She's brilliant. And you think you didn't see that slog, and all the successful people that everyone's looking up to. I always say, you don't know, you didn't see that slog probably. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to go through it and do it and just not really think about the outcomes and the celebration. Celebrate yourself, of course, but like no one's going to be watching you along those hard journey. So I love that you just said that.
Definitely. And also people don't see everything that you do either. Like even if it feels as though you're selling all the time and you're posting a lot, no one's actually seeing those, like every single thing, are they? So you just have to keep on going. And this is what I say to all my girls that work in the salon as well now. Like I'm trying to help them obviously to build their clients too, but it's just consistency and hard work, isn't it?
It really is. And that's it. It's discipline. It's consistency and showing up when you don't feel like showing up. I think, and like you say, people don't see all your stuff. I think it's so important for people to understand they don't see every post, do they? Like they don't see everything you do. So I feel like when people get a bit scared of annoying people or they get a bit scared of being repetitive, it's like, no. People aren't seeing absolutely everything. So not only are they not seeing it, hence that's probably why they're not buying, but also I think on that side as well, don't be scared to shout your message over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
And be repetitive, You
have to keep reminding people what you sell.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the amount of adverts that we see on a daily basis on TV, or even if you're watching YouTube these days, or even if you're listening to a podcast these days, right? And you think, I heard that one like 2 minutes ago. And you just think that's why. And like you said, the number is increasing. I don't think it's 7 anymore. It must be in the 20s now, because people are becoming more like online advertising savvy. People know they're being marketed to all the time. And so we have to really be careful and talk to people in such a way that they feel connected to you, not just sold to.
Absolutely. And as well, I think people focus on the vanity metrics of how many likes a post has, comments, engagement, all that, which obviously is important to get your brand out there. But actually, I've sold a one-to-one course from a post that's got 3 likes. And, I've had other posts that have, done really, really well, but probably not made me any sales. So it's actually focusing on the conversations and the community that you're building as well, not just things like likes and,
Yeah, the follows and the likes.
Yeah.
I always say that too, because my following's not big, but I'm a fully booked coach. So exactly. It's like I sell my services, I nurture my audience, and I work with who I want to work with. You don't have to have tens of thousands of followers. You really don't.
Definitely. And especially as, someone who is a beauty industry professional and you're serving the local area, obviously it's different if you've got an online product, but if you are solely in your area, you do not need those tens of thousands of followers, because actually, as long as you've got enough in your local area and you've got those bums on seats, that's the important thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. I speak this language, like we're on the same page here. I say to people all the time, you wouldn't be able to service that many clients anyway. And it's not the end goal, is it? If your end goal is to become an influencer or, work with brands and all the rest of it, and you want bigger numbers on there, then fine. You can keep adding that into the mix for when you set your goals and when you work on your business. But you have to, and this leads me on nicely to asking you about something else, actually. I feel like you have to streamline. You have to focus on that end goal. And therefore, the operations that you're doing in your business, that sort of flow of work, that workflow has to be streamlined. And I think people, they can often get caught up in the vanity metrics, or they'll get shiny object syndrome and they'll see something that someone else is doing or someone else is promoting and they want to do that. So I can tell that obviously you have probably had to do some streamline in your business and save yourself some time. I really value time. And for me, it's kind of like I have to have things in order. I have to streamline. So how have you done all of this in your career, would you say?
Yeah, so I think the real turning point for me was 2 years ago. I created online versions of all of my courses. And that meant that people could do it from their own homes. They could watch all the pre-recorded content, and then they submit case studies for me to assess. And by doing that, it meant that I stopped trading my time for money all the time, because I got to the point where I was seeing, 8 to 10 clients a day. I was fully booked with clients. I couldn't take on anyone else. My books were closed. I'd reached a ceiling of how much I could earn, because there was only so many hours that I could work in a day, and I was burning myself out very quickly. So it's completely transformed the way that I worked, because it is a more passive way of working. And it's also meant that I could live in Australia for a year, and it's meant that I can just, go away for a couple of weeks at a time, but I can still continue to run my business. So it's absolutely changed the way that I can work. And yeah, it's just been amazing, really, in terms of the freedom that it's then given me, which I often sort of didn't allow myself to have when I was constantly doing that trading time for money, because it's hard when it's like that.
So hard. And I think you don't realize it until you are maybe a little bit too stressed or a little bit too burnt out, and people don't realize that they're probably not spending enough time on the things that are important and on the things that actually matter. How did you come about with like, right, I'm going to do this? Was it always inside you to go online, or did something happen and you were like, now I get it?
So I was really lucky. I was working with a business coach. So I was actually doing a lot of work for them, and then she would mentor me. And she was the one that sort of said to me, like, you need to take this online, because she could see I was burning myself out constantly, and I'd just reached that limit of how much I could actually do. And obviously, there's other barriers like location barriers and things like that when it comes to training. So yeah, she was the one that sort of suggested it. And then I just ran with it. I was like, I've got a plan now. I'm going to make this happen.
This is amazing. Music to my ears. Honestly, I love it. I think if there's anything you can do is save yourself time, because it's our biggest asset, isn't it? So was there anything else you had to streamline? Because I can imagine that building an online course, and I say this because I'm building an online course.
Yeah.
I know what it's like, and I can imagine that was pretty stressful when you were trying to set time aside to build out that course as well as do your day-to-day job. So was there any kind of like advice that you have to anyone in this industry that is looking to work smarter, not harder, in this industry, and, whatever way they're looking at their career right now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you do learn as you go. I've always sort of learned from my mistakes, and every single time I create a course, I do it slightly more streamlined because I'm like, I'm not going to do it the same as I did it the first time because that took too much longer. I'm sorry, too much time, all of that. So every single time I've done it, I've been like, right, how can I make this more efficient? And, using people who have got a zone of geniuses in things like video editing and things like that. Now I ask for help as well. So that's really important to ask for help because we can't always do everything. But yeah, first of all, I'd say in terms of in our beauty industry, if you want to work smarter, not harder, the first thing that you need to make sure you're doing is charging enough, because so many of us are not charging enough, and you need to be confident with it. Because the biggest change that I saw in my business was when I stopped feeling bad for charging people a decent amount and making a good amount from my nail business. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. So that it was the massive turning point for me, because I was just a busy fool. I was working every single hour. I was really beginning to resent it because I wasn't seeing, the freedom or the earnings that we should be feeling. So yeah, I would say definitely start there.
Definitely.
The second thing I would say is to look at opportunities in terms of making more from your existing clients. So that's things like retail products. So upselling to those existing clients, they're already coming to you. So you're not having to market anymore to get them, but it's basically more money for you without any extra work, isn't it? So yeah, really thinking about the retail products. And then thirdly, I think a lot of it is mindset. Because once you realize that you don't actually have to work every hour of every day in order to be a success, then you break through this barrier that's like opens your eyes. Because we are just taught in society that we have to hustle. We have to hustle. We have to do the 40 hours plus a week, 60 hours you're doing really well, and it's taught from such a young age. And I always thought, right, I have to work every hour of every single day. Otherwise, I'm not going to get anywhere. It's not true anymore. Like, we're so lucky that we have these technological advancements and social media. Everything like that is at our fingertips now. And we can utilize that to work smarter and not harder. So yeah, I would recommend those. And then finally, looking at things like a more passive income. So doing things online, like getting creative with digital products, digital courses. But yeah, definitely put those prices up, take that pressure off yourself from hustling all the time, and just prioritize what makes you happy, because at the end of the day, that's what matters, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to write that down. Prioritize what makes you happy. That is it. Everybody listening, have a little pen handy and write that down. Yeah, because not a lot of people are prioritizing what makes them happy, and it's all this thing about like the mindset work. I do a lot of mindset work with my clients, and it's kind of like you have to be happy now. You can't just say, I want to be happy then. Like when I've got fully booked, when I'm earning an X amount of money, when I'm doing this, then I'll be happy. It's not when, it has to be now, because it has to be. You have to be happy now, because if you're waiting for something external to make you happy, you're never going to be happy. You're always going to be chasing it, aren't you? I need to unpick some of that, Becky, because we've gone through a hell of a lot of information there.
That was a lot, that wasn't it?
That was a lot. So I feel like the pricing issue, right, in the UK at the moment is difficult. And why do you think people are undervaluing this industry?
I think it's, again, so I think the first problem is if people go from kind of an employed job where they're maybe making like 10 to 12 pounds an hour, and then they're of course setting up their own business, they kind of want to match that. But they don't take into consideration the fact that you've got no sick pay, you've got no holiday pay, you've got no security. So we need to actually, compensate ourselves for that. Secondly is you don't have to just make minimum wage. Like, you're allowed to strive for more and to earn a decent amount doing beauty. And I think when people are feeling bad about, charging 30, 40 pounds for a set of nails, the way I look at it, that set of nails is lasting someone 3 to 4 weeks. So, it's £10 a week for them. Yes, it's a luxury. It is, it's not necessarily a necessity, is it? But it's a luxury, but you're providing that value to your clients. And that's the way I like my students to look at it. I always say, they're coming to you for you and the value that you're providing, not rock bottom prices. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to get so many more problems if you're not charging enough, because people haven't got enough skin in the game type thing. They haven't paid enough, so they're not going to look after them as well. They'll tell you they just fell off and they didn't, so when you aren't charging enough, you're actually doing yourself a disservice because you're going to have more issues. So I get it, and I obviously, we've got this cost of living crisis at the moment, and I know it is nails, it is that luxury treatment, but at the same time, it's making people feel good about themselves. And, everybody loves to have a lovely manicure. And if they want to have that, then they should pay you for that because you are a talented artist.
Absolutely. And I think as well, it's the value, isn't it? The value perception of it. If you are out there, and this is where marketing comes into it again as well, because if you don't know how to market to the people who can afford it, which is the first thing, but secondly, to the people who seriously value this as it's not something that they would drop, like I've always got my nails done, right? I'm that person. And, and those people, they don't like to drop their nails, even in crisis. They're like, oh, I'll find a way.
Yeah,
if
definitely.
You can market to the people that they are like that, then you're going to win, and if you have, and this is why it's so important in business, and you've touched on it. Another really important point as well is when people are paying you minimum wage in a PAYE job, their business is making money, right? You're not the like people get a bit like clouded by that. They're like, well, I was only earning that over there. That's what a person is worth. No, let's think about how much that business was earning, right? Exactly. If you worked at Tesco, even if you worked at a supermarket, okay, how much money does Tesco make? Hell of a bloody lot. Now you're now a business owner and your business needs to make money. And if you employ someone, pay them £10-11 an hour. That's cool.
Yeah.
But your business needs to make money. So that's the thing, and people don't get it. And that's where the business coaches come in, right? That's where I come in. That's where you come in when you're teaching people all of the extras. And I just think people, you've got to prioritize it being a business and actually learning how to run a business. If you don't do that, and in this industry, people are only taught how to do the do sometimes, which is why I love talking to people like you who do help students do way more. Because that, if they don't know how to run a business, they're not going to be able to be successful, are they?
Exactly. Like I always say, it's not a hobby. This is your business. You've invested in it. You've invested in your training, your products. You need to make money from this.
Absolutely. There has to be a return on investment.
Exactly.
And the other thing about upselling as well is, and this leads me on really nicely to passive income that you touched on. But upselling, I think people get a bit scared to do. Do you find that you have experienced that challenge where you feel salesy?
Yeah, definitely. I think I get where that comes from. But also, if you're an absolute advocate for what you are selling, which you should be, you're not just selling it for the sake of it. You're selling it because this is going to help your clients. Then that's how you've got to reposition it, isn't it? Yeah. So you won't seem salesy if you're genuinely passionate about something.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That is such good advice. And I feel if you see it as the server, I always say to people, you're not the pushy salesperson. You're going to be seen as the server, because you'd actually be doing your clients a disservice by not giving them this hand stuff or this, whatever it is that you sell, right? So, okay, cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. Moving on a little bit to the mindset that you've touched on, and, maybe looking at things that are a bit more passive. I feel like in this industry, people don't realize that they can create, semi-passive. Nothing's 100% passive. You've always got to put in some time to create something, generally speaking, to that, or to market it. Even if it can be sold overnight, you still need to market it. So let's just talk about a little bit of how do you think in the beauty industry people can go into semi or passive income?
So the one thing that my business coach first said to me was that if you can do it, you can teach it. And that can be for your clients, and it can also be for other industry professionals. So you've actually got two clienteles here. So, if you say you do makeup, you could get a group of your clients onto an online masterclass. That masterclass takes you an hour, And you could sell as many slots for that masterclass as you wanted. You know, even if you only sell 10, which is still amazing, it's not only 10, it's 10, that could be, you know, at £10 a ticket, £100 in that hour. And if you think about, you would have had to maybe do 2 or 3 makeups to do that, that would have taken you way longer than an hour. So once you start to think about how you can create something once, but sell it an X amount of times rather than doing something once and selling it once, you suddenly unlock so many more opportunities. Same again, if you were, you know, doing a masterclass for nail tech, so a little bit like what I do, selling courses, you create that masterclass once, even if it's a live masterclass, and, you know, you then record it and then sell it, you know, as a non-live type option. Non-live a word? I'm not sure. You know what I mean?
We'll go with it.
We'll go with that.
I like it.
But yeah, so you could do that initial live masterclass to however many nail techs, but then also have it as an evergreen thing that you then have to sell. So, you know, that's been created once, you've done it, and then you can continue to keep making money from it. So yeah, I think that's a really good way to do it. So to teach what you can do, or to teach your clients how to use, you know, what you, obviously that's not going to be maybe for nails and things like that. It's not really appropriate to be teaching clients. But again, like I say, you've then got an industry professionals who you can share your tips and tricks with. So there's loads of options in terms of that. I think as well, products can be really good. So white labeling things, there's loads of companies out there now that will help you to do that. So you can obviously buy it for cost, sell it for RRP. So things like cuticle oils, hand creams. And then, yeah, digital products. So posters, consultation cards, designs. Just think about what your clients or what your industry need and put a product there for that. So yeah, just focusing on making it once or creating it once and then selling it an infinite amount of times.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. And do you know what? That's so much value for people as well, because people don't give out all of this information for free, right? I mean, if you went through every episode of my podcast, you'd probably learn what I teach my one-to-one clients. But people don't realize that actually, like, all of this information, the only reason that I coach it is because you either pay me to coach you it very quickly, or you can just listen to loads of free stuff for 10, 20 years and then you'll learn it. You know what I mean? You're just saving that time. So I love it because you've just given everybody so much value. Thank you so, so much. It's like you don't hold back the secrets, and I like that.
No, that's it. I always just want to help everyone. So yeah.
Absolutely. And it comes through and it's just so nice to see. So talking about the digital bits and bobs, digital products, really, really cool. The other thing that I did in my beauty business that I just wanted to add on for everybody who, if they haven't heard me talking about this before, is because, like you said, it's difficult when it's just clients, but actually, you know what the best way for me was? It was that consultation, turning it into a service. So it was, I know sometimes the nails, that's not a thing, but say you had a nail biter and they were nervous about going through that journey, starting again, all the rest of it. If you have some really valuable knowledge and you package it in a way that they absolutely need, they could pay you to do things like that as an online consultation, and you can be paid for your expertise before you actually begin the process of touching their nails. And that's not passive, but it is almost semi-passive, because like you said, if you then record something like that where you've helped somebody so much, cut them out of it kind of thing, chop it into like maybe like a resource for people, you could put a small price tag on things like that. And the same with skin. I think this is what I did where my clients that had acne and everything and really needed to go through a journey with me, it would be a minimum of like a 40-day transformation. And some people will take me for my knowledge and advice in the beauty room and then not buy the products or try and buy them elsewhere. So what I would do is I would be like, right, this needs to turn into a service. So I'd be charging them for the initial consultation and the advice, and then, any follow-up and keep in touch points as well. So you can have different tiers to things like this. And I just want to put it out there for people that aren't necessarily just nails, or even there is an idea there for nails, but just to add more value from what you just said, there are ways and bits and bobs that you can do, and people out there that will help, basically. Including me and Becky.
Yeah, because we all give away so much of our expertise, and to us it's like, because we do it every single day, we don't even recognize how valuable that is. But actually, to speak to someone who doesn't do what we do day in, day out, it's like whoa to them, because they don't know all this information. We've spent years learning it and perfecting our craft. So yeah, why not make some money from that? Absolutely. I was going to say as well, when you were talking, I thought of something else. So affiliate income. That is another passive thing. And you think how many clients you are seeing day in, day out. If you could, have a genuine relationship with either a local business where you are referring people, or even things that are online, like affiliates, like commission, everything like that, that can be another really good way of making income from existing clients, because you're naturally recommending things anyway. Like, I know I used to, get all my clients going to the same restaurants and, even things that aren't even related. But if I had a referral with them and, something to pass on, I reckon that could be a really good way of creating some extra income for yourself as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's all sorts of different options that you can do. So many. The world is your oyster. I think you just got to get creative, haven't you? And think about, well, and I know it sounds a little bit like funny, but what's in it for me? If somebody asks you to refer something, okay, cool. Like, let's work something out then if we can,
Exactly.
and I'm all about helping people and stuff. But if you're a mutually sort of beneficial business, and I always say to my clients as well, if there's a complementary business in the area, not only, ask them to help you, but how can you help them and all the rest of it. If it's mutually beneficial for you both and you have a similar audience, but not the same, it has to be not competitive, but then go for it,
Definitely.
So, oh, amazing. Thank you so much. I also wanted to ask you if you have perfected the work-life balance, or if that is definitely a myth. Is there a secret sauce that allows you to still earn greatly whilst you enjoy your lovely life?
Yeah, so I don't know if you can ever get that perfect work-life balance that everyone talks about, but I also think that it looks different to every single person.
Yeah.
So I think I'm definitely working on it still, because I still get a lot of guilt attached if I'm not working every hour of every day, or if I have a day off in the week, because like I said before, I think it is just drilled into us from a young age. So you just get conditioned to be like that, don't you?
Yeah.
But I would say the most important thing, linking back to what I said at the start, so just sit down and think about what actually makes you happy and what you want from your life. Because at the end of the day, you see on social media, you should be earning X amount or going on X amount of holidays or buying certain things. But if that's not actually what you want and is important to you, then you'll never feel fulfilled if that's what you're chasing. So you've actually got to sit down and think, what do I want from this? Like, what is my why? And, for me, it's about freedom and flexibility. So now being able to work from anywhere, that's what I've always wanted. And I'm not saying that, I have a perfect work-life balance in the slightest. I'm still working on that, but I feel so fulfilled, because not only am I doing something that's rewarding, it's also giving me that freedom. So I think just making sure that you're sitting down and working out what that means to you, because we've all got different dreams and aspirations, and yours is going to look completely different to someone else's.
Definitely.
Yeah. So the other thing was about mindset. So really getting past that, I have to work every hour of every day to hustle and be a success. Because as I say, like, success is different to every single person as well. So if success means to you having a fully booked client basis in terms of doing 3 days of clients and then spending the rest of the week with your children, then you are a success, and we shouldn't be aspiring to anyone else's version of that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Thank you so much. That's such wise words. It's so true, because so many people think, well, to be a success, I've got to be fully booked Monday to Friday, or, I've got to work weekends. And so many myths in this industry, isn't there? And I do debunk some of those people if you have a look at my content. But you've got to define what success is for you, and then take the steps every day. Then try and be consistent as you possibly can, and disciplined, and focus on that end goal. I think you've shared so much valuable kind of tips and just insights. Where did your mindset come from? This strong,
A lot of it is down to working with various business coaches. I've had 2 during my career, and I've worked with them for long periods of time. And honestly, they've been the changing point, because I used to be a complete, imposter syndrome, was not confident, just wanted to do everyone a favor, like people pleaser. But now I'm so clear on what I want to achieve and what I'm doing, and I know the value now that I provide. And I think once you can get to that point, it's just amazing. And I would never have got there on my own. So it's I know obviously you're a business coach too, and I'm not just saying this, but genuinely, that's what changed my whole business, was working with a coach. So
I agree, and I feel like with me, I had a positive outlook on life from a young age. Did you have that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, having that positive attitude, first of all. It's very difficult for someone that has a negative mindset to change and even look into business coaches, isn't it? Because they don't see the value in that type of thing. But if you are the type of person who has that positive outlook, wants more out of life, and is willing to work for it kind of thing, then the mindset can be seriously opened up. And like you just said, the imposter syndrome and that type of thing is a limiting belief that can be broken down with somebody else's help, with a little bit of hand holding. But for me as well, my beauty business didn't get to the success that it was on my own. I'm very transparent and tell people I did the courses, I worked on the marketing, I figured out how to run a business, I did all of those bits. Yeah, it stemmed back from my corporate career, from where I was in sales, and from where I had a lot of support, because we had mindset work, we had on a corporate level personality tests and everything, we had different trainings, and it just carried on. If you're open to training, I think it carries on. And my business, even now, my coaching business, it wouldn't be where it is today without my coach. I'm a coach, but I've also got a coach.
Exactly.
And he's incredible.
You don't just do that initial training course and then that's it.
Yeah.
Because I'll often, hear people, because one of the things I make clear to my students is just because someone's been in the industry 20 years and you've been in it for a year, there is no difference in the value that you are providing. Because if they've only ever done that first training and then they've never developed since, you're probably going to be actually ahead of them in some things that you're doing and the way that you are doing your business. So actually, time means nothing if you haven't actually continually invested and developed yourself.
Yeah. I mean, for somebody that I know, they've been in the industry, they say, 20 years and all the rest of it. But actually 3 years of that is active work. And the rest of that was like, I trained, and then I sort of tried, and then I stopped for 5 years, had a few kids, and then I went back to it. And then do you know what I mean? Exactly. So it's not, have you had any specific challenges that you can pinpoint in your career that have gotten in the way?
I think it stems from when I first started, where I had no boundaries in place. I had no policies, wasn't charging enough. And because I was such a people pleaser, I still am, but I was majorly a people pleaser. I just wanted to make everyone happy. And I literally used to bend over backwards for my clients. And I did a post about this the other day, actually, because I genuinely did start to resent my beauty business, and I knew something had to change, because I was literally getting messed around left, right, and center. I was putting all these hours in, but then I wasn't seeing any type of reward. And I was literally, getting in at 9 p.m. at night and then going back out at 9 in the morning. And it was just, that was really challenging, because I had to keep on going, even when it felt really uncomfortable. And I knew something had to change. And obviously you have to go through that uncomfort to then feel the change. And, it can be really hard to know which direction you're then going, because you get into that kind of rut and that cycle of just burnout and like not doing it for the right reasons, not looking after yourself. So that was definitely challenging, because I wanted to pack it all in at one point.
I was going to say,
yeah.
Did you ever feel like quitting? How,
Yeah, definitely. I just thought, what am I doing? It wasn't bringing me any happiness, because I was just exhausted all the time. And just not enjoying it. But like I say, it wasn't because of a beauty business. It was the way I was running it. And it was the fact that I didn't have those boundaries in place. I was, not developing things and not learning more. And I think that was what gave me the push to then be like, right, we need to change this.
Massive lesson, isn't it, when you realise? What's the first thing you did to get back on track?
So the first thing I had to do was cut down on clients, which obviously then cut down my income, but it gave me the breathing space and the headspace in order to be able to move things forwards. So sometimes, even if it feels like you're taking a slight step back, you're not, because then it's going to get you to that next level. So I think for so long I'd put it off, because I was like, I can't possibly, lose clients or stop earning as much as I was, but you have to almost feel that, like, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like
I do. Yeah.
Before you can then start to get out of it.
Yeah, it's like you're pulling yourself back to ping yourself forward. It's the elastic band.
Exactly.
Isn't it? And it's knowing when to do that. And that comes from experience, doesn't it? And wisdom and help and asking for help. I like what you said earlier as well about asking for support, because I was always the person that didn't want to, and still to this day I just rooted in me that I don't really ask for support, you know.
No.
Just get on with it, don't you, sometimes? And it can be to the detriment of the business or the family or the freedom, like you say. So what I wanted to ask you is, what does Blossom Academy for you and life and business look like for you right now? You still got the salon side of things and then the student side of things?
Yeah, so I've just moved into a bigger premises a couple of months ago. So I've now got a kind of salon area where I have self-employed girls, and then I have the academy training room. So yeah, every week kind of looks quite different for me at the moment. I mean, I tend to train in person sort of once or twice a week, and they're like group training courses. I do one-to-ones as well in between. And then we have the girls, doing nail treatments at the moment. And then we're looking to expand the back rooms because we've got like half of the rest of the salon still to renovate. But yeah, there's going to be treatment rooms. So again, hopefully more treatments, more beauticians. So yeah, my sort of day to day is marketing the business, helping all of my students, making sure that, you know, I'm on hand for anything that they need. And then, just sort of getting prepped for courses, helping the girls in the salon. It's so varied now. It's really nice because no 2 days are the same.
I love that. It sounds so nice, especially to see that smile on your face as well when you talk about it, because you can just tell that you love it and it's so good. Also, one question that I want to ask before we wrap up, because I know I keep just going and digressing even more, but when you think about how your life looks right now, do you ever sort of pinch yourself and go, this is what I envisaged that day, like this is what I thought?
Yeah, it's mad because up until very recently I still kept thinking this is all going to end tomorrow, like this is too good to be true. And I again worked with my business coach about this because she was like, Becci, let's look at the evidence here, like this is not just going to go away tomorrow. So I think because it is, like I say, I've been able to now stop doing nail clients, stop doing my freelance marketing. I'm solely on the academy. And I've dreamt of the day that I could do that. I dreamt of the day that I could have my own premises and have people working in my own salon. And I walk into my salon and I think, how is this mine? But then I think, do you know what? I know I've worked for this and I've made this happen. And you've got to, you know, give yourself credit for that, because I've always been so bad in the past of celebrating my wins and actually taking a moment to be like, I did this. So yeah, it does feel like a dream come true. But I know that I've put the work in to get there as well. It's not just been luck. It's not just been that it's been handed to me. You know, I've kept on going and I've, you know, hustled and grafted. Not saying that you have to hustle, but I know in those early days I learned my lessons from all of that. And yeah, it does just feel like a dream.
Yeah, amazing. And how hard really was it, do you think? Would it surprise anyone to know that it's really freaking hard, or that would it surprise anyone to know that when you get there you kind of think it doesn't have to be that hard?
Yeah, definitely. I think a bit of both with that.
Yeah.
I think it would surprise people how much I've done leading up to this point, because like we kind of touched on before, you know, people do see you at like that level and they think, oh, you know, she's done so well, but they didn't see the years that I put in of, you know, the hours, the burnout, the stress, the anxiety, because there's been a lot of that and it's not all been plain sailing. And I'm never going to be one to be like, yeah, you know, you just do that and that happens, because it's not true at all. But then I think once I unlocked this new level of like, okay, I don't have to do that to get that, it just absolutely changed my business. And I probably, you know, worked less hours but earned more. And so once you can get to that point, obviously that's what we all want to do, of course, but actually it doesn't have to be that burnout cycle, that hustle, in order to get to being your version of success.
Yeah, I love that. And that's what I was trying to get to, is see if you agree with me here, that it doesn't have to be that it's stressful because your level of stress, I feel like when you're working at full capacity to get to a goal, you should always feel like you're working hard.
Yeah.
But when you look back and you go, my life is what I wanted it to be, and you think, because I get to do that daily as well, wake up and decide how I spend my time.
Yeah.
And I think actually it's not as hard as some people think. And people that start in this industry think, how on earth do you end up with a premises and people working for you and training academies and all the rest of it? It's actually not as hard as they think, but it takes hard work, you know, and it's also one of those things that it's just, I think you have to be willing to take a risk sometimes.
That's it. And I was about to say, what it actually takes is uncomfort.
Yeah.
Leaving that comfort zone and taking that risk, because if I'd have never left my comfort zone, I'd still be doing mobile nails and burning myself out and not charging enough and not having boundaries, all of that. So you've got to feel that uncomfort if you want to do change and if you want to, you know, get to that point.
Yeah. Best advice. I love it. Thank you so much. So, Becci, has there been, because I like to brighten somebody's day today, if they're having a bit of a downer, I want to lift them up a bit, right? And we all know that we get into business on the podcast, but we can't take ourselves too seriously. I say it every episode that I interview someone. So has there been a time in your career that you can tell us about that was, you know, funny or embarrassing that will brighten someone's day and that you've learned from?
Oh gosh, I feel like there's been a lot of lessons in my career so far, a lot of mistakes made. Yeah, but I think the one standout one would be ruining a client's dining table with acetone. Yeah, I used to be mobile, placed down this bottle of acetone, and obviously it had some on the bottom of it. Yeah, and it was literally, I picked it up and it created this white ring on their oak dining table.
Yeah.
And I was mortified. Like, I felt so bad. I thought she was going to charge me for this table. But luckily she was like, oh, don't worry, dear. I've been on at the husband that I wanted a new one anyway. So this is perfect. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, honestly, it's happened to the best of us.
Yeah, it really made me realize, you know, how corrosive these chemicals are that we're working with. And I always tell that story to my students when we're going through the health and safety module, because I'm like, just don't do what I did. It will, strip things. But it was just so embarrassing.
Yeah, it is, but it's so funny because we just grow from it, and actually nothing majorly bad is happening.
No,
you know?
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. It's difficult sometimes for people to come up with these funny stories, so I love it when they do.
I was racking my brain.
Rack the brain, see what's hiding under there. So lovely. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you, see your courses, see what kind of one-to-ones or group courses you offer in at the minute? Where can they get you?
Yeah, so best place to find out all information on courses is my website. So that's www.blossom-academy.co.uk. And then I'm mainly always on Instagram. That is my favorite platform. So I'm at Blossom Academy _. And then Facebook, I'm on there as well. So yeah, come and chat. I'm always there if you just want to sort of, you know, chat about anything to do with nails and beauty, basically.
Oh, perfect. Well, I'll link everything in the description for everybody to connect with you below. If anyone has any questions, I'm sure Becci doesn't mind answering. Obviously, as do I. You can pop into my DMs anytime. But for now, everyone, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you on the next one.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insights that will help you in your beauty business and life. If you did, please take a screenshot and tag me in your stories. If you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me on any of my socials. The links are always in the descriptions. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us improve and bring you more and more great content. Until next time, keep building that business.